Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we love pop culture. Now, what happens when you take the real American heroes and you drop them into a tournament with the World Warriors? Well, you get the comic book crossover Street Fighter Cross G.I. Joe, released back in 2016. As the series begins, we see two of the franchise's baddest with Bison and Destro, and they are in cahoots. The comic series picks up after the qualifying rounds of a tournament. Here in issue number 1, the first battle will be Snake Eyes versus Sea Viper with the Baroness in her corner. Now, right off the bat, what I really do like is that the creators of this comic book series really make it feel like a fighting game between these two huge pop culture icons would completely make sense and be a whole lot of fun. During the battle between Sea Viper and Snake Eyes, Viper will show off some of her signature moves that anyone who has seen her in action in the video game will be very familiar with. But unfortunately for Sea Viper, the cunningness and fighting prowess of Snake Eyes will be too much for her to handle and is eliminated from the tournament. And even though the Baroness will try to protest that the use of knives by Snake Eyes was uncalled for in a fighting tournament, Bison will simply tell her that they are turning a blind eye to a lot of things, including the use of Sin-designed battlesuits, a battlesuit that we'll get to see in action as Destro tells her she's up next. And who will the Baroness have to go through? Well, it's going to be none other than Street Fighter's Rufus, who appears to have a few other things on his mind other than winning a tournament. As Rufus heads off, he tells his squeeze candy, "Just chillax, babe. This won't take long." And the Baroness replies, "You're absolutely right." Before the Baroness and Rufus square off, it appears Rufus would rather have no work and all play, as he tells the Baroness that his girl Candy is pretty open-minded. Maybe you two could. And as you could tell by the Baroness's response, she doesn't appear to be that interested. After a knee strike, it appears the Baroness wasn't fibbing when she agreed with Rufus that this wouldn't take long, as the big man is seeing stars and little birdies. But just as the Baroness thinks it's over, Rufus's mojo kicks back in and retaliates with a snake strike. Now, before the National Weather Service can put out a storm warning, Rufus hits the Baroness with a typhoon of galactic proportions, taking home the victory. As the Baroness lies on the ground from defeat, Destro extends a hand down to her and says, "You know, I hate seeing you suffer, my dear." And she replies, "Then just give us the weapon." Now, what exactly is the weapon? Well, we aren't going to learn too much about it here in issue number 1, other than Destro isn't teaming up with Bison because he's looking for a new BFF, but that Bison's organization is the only one powerful enough to power this weapon for now. Now, as Baroness takes a place on the throne next to Destro, it's time for the next fight, and it's going to be Hakan taking on Roadblock. Right off the bat, Roadblock gets in a few blows and gets the upper hand. Before the fight, Gung Ho told Roadblock that during this fight, he needs to be thinking about protecting his fists, and even though they are taped up, he takes it very literally and brings out a machine gun to a street fight. But it looks like Roadblock didn't do enough research on his slippery opponent, as Hakan uses his oil to his advantage and is able to slip and slide under a barrage of bullets, getting Roadblock in his clutches and squeezes his way to victory. Now, the fourth and final match of this issue will see Ryu squaring off against Jinx. Ryu will get in some offense in this match, but it seems like he's taught Jinx a move or two as she uses his shuriken against him, which angers him so much that the evil is almost brought out of him. Now, Ryu is able to channel his inner peace, then shoots out a powerful Hadouken that Jinx is too quick for and dodges. Or did she really dodge that fireball, because Jinx is going to accuse Ryu of missing that fireball on purpose? Jinx tells Ryu to stop going easy on her, and Ryu will oblige and goes in for another attack. Now, while I've really been enjoying the story so far, the artwork has been amazing here in this comic book crossover. Now, Ryu and Jinx will collide here, but when it's all said and done, only one will get back up, and that will be Jinx getting the victory. As issue number 1 comes to its conclusion, Destro asks Bison, "Is it working? Will it be ready?" And Bison replies, "It's working perfectly, and it will be ready by the time I step into the ring." Now, as issue number 2 begins, Cammy is getting a pep talk from Guile and Chun-Li about her battle with Bison that day. But before we can get to that fight, the first matchup in the tournament in this issue will be Guile squaring off against Gung Ho. As the two look to square off, Guile appears to be getting some intel, but from who is not clear at this moment. Just that it's on a need-to-know basis, Gung-Ho has not been briefed on the situation and that Guile should go easy on him. However, Guile will not oblige as he nails Gung-Ho with a belly-to-back suplex, sending him crashing to the ground. But this fight is far from over as Gung-Ho decides he's gonna play dirty, but is stopped in his tracks. The person in Guile's ear asks, should we activate Plan B? Guile replies, no, and as he nails Gung-Ho with a boot to the face, he says, don't need it. After getting back up, Gung-Ho tells Guile, so the Air Force did teach you some hand-to-hand. And Guile replies, yup, but did the Jones teach you to fly? And in an instant, Guile nails Gung-Ho with his signature flash kick, sending him up the ladder in the winner's bracket. Now after the fight, Chun-Li goes to check on Guile, but Guile just shrugs her off and tells her that she needs to go focus on her fight, but Chun-Li, she just laughs it off because her opponent is none other than Dan. But Chun-Li better not take Dan lightly because he might have a few new tricks up his sleeve. But after hitting her devastating lightning kick and crashing through a car, it appears that Dan will be all bark and no bite. But you know what? We should never count out good old Dan as he unleashes the most powerful Hadouken ever seen, which unfortunately falls just a tad short of his mark. Chun-Li decides it's time to endless and goes for her spinning bird kick, but Dan counters. And now looking more sinister than ever, Dan appears to now have the upper hand. Cammy says to Guile, no way Dan can move like that. And the Killer Bee is right, as it's revealed that it's none other than the Master of Disguise, Zartan, playing the role and now squashing Chun-Li and advancing in the tournament. After the actions of Zartan, Cammy questions if there are any rules at all in this tournament. Rules or not, we have to continue on with the tournament, and the next fight we'll see Storm Shadow squaring off against the Croc Master. And here we're gonna get another look on just how much corruption is going on as the Baroness is telling Storm Shadow that he needs to throw his fight. Now, if you're gonna throw a fight, you need to make it look good to the spectators, not to arouse any suspicion. But Storm Shadow might be doing too good of a job as the Baroness yells out, Storm Shadow, I need him in fighting shape. Having the Croc Master in fighting shape will end up being the least of the Baroness's worries, as Storm Shadow decides it's time for a change of plans, and after several repeated blows, KOs the Croc Master. When the Baroness questions Storm Shadow if he's lost his mind, he simply replies, I'm doing what needs to be done. As we head to the main event, Chun-Li and Guile are trying to give some advice to Cammy, as Chun-Li tells her, he's big and strong, you'll have to get inside to do any damage. And Guile is quick to point out that Bison is also incredibly fast, she'll need to be faster. But Cammy is determined to get revenge on the monster who took everything away from her, as she only needs to get her hands on him. But before the fight can begin, Bison smashes the wall so that he can show off the weapon that he's been mentioning, and that's the Psycho Drive that is now ready for use. The person inside of Guile's ear wants an update, and Guile tells him it's just what we feared and he's already using it. Even though the deck looks stacked against Cammy, this won't stop the Killer Bee from going on the offense as she seeks revenge for all the dastardly things that Bison had done to her. Now, on a typical day, trying to battle Bison would be a feat unto itself, but with him being powered by the Psycho Drive, Cammy will learn on this day it will be impossible, as Bison will get the KO and advance in the tournament. Now, winning the fight wasn't enough for Bison, as he wants to finish Cammy off once and for all. But in a moment of compassion, Destro steps in and tells Bison, you already won, that's enough. But being the madman that Bison is, he tells Destro, no, it's never enough. Now going here into issue number 3, there will be no more new entries into this tournament, as we're now down to the final 8 with Rufus versus Snake Eyes, Hakan versus Jinx, Zartan versus Guile, and Bison versus Storm Shadow. The opening bout will be Rufus taking on Snake Eyes, and Rufus is feeling pretty confident that he will have no problem defeating the Silent Ninja. As the battle begins, Rufus will try some offense, but is made to look like an uncoordinated buffoon. It appears that Snake Eyes should have this match in the palm of his hands, but in a weird turn of events, a shocked audience looks on as Rufus uses quite the unusual tactic and gets the win. Now there's something definitely very suspicious going on here, as Rufus has defeated Snake Eyes in a fair fight. In the back area, my suspicions are met as Storm Shadow tells Snake Eyes, good work. The next match of the night will be Jinx with Ryu in her corner going up against Turkish oil wrestler Hakan. The two will battle back and forth at the beginning, but when Hakan gets an oily advantage, the rage begins to come over Jinx. But Ryu is there to remind her to stay calm, don't give in, not yet. Jinx will take Ryu's advice and use Hakan's strengths against him that will lead her to victory. As Guile gets ready for his next bout, the voice in his ear asks him if the backup he arranged are with him, and he replies to them that Bison roughed up Cammy good and Chun-Li is looking after her. But by the looks of Cammy in the hospital bed, she looks more than just a little roughed up. Now the next fight will be Guile facing off against Zartan, and this should be a fair fight because Zartan has already revealed what tricks he already has up his sleeve. Or were all of Zartan's tricks really revealed, because as Guile goes on the offense, he drops Zartan to the floor, but as Guile goes over to the fallen body, it's now Cammy lying there who says, "You just stood there. You let him hurt me. How could you?" And this was just a distraction that Zartan was looking to create as he nails Guile in the stones and goes after his arm in hopes of injuring him enough so that he cannot perform a sonic boom. The voice in Guile's ear asks him if it's time to activate Plan B. But Guile insists that he's fine. But will Guile be fine? Because Zartan has no intention of playing fair, as Croc Master has decided he's going to stick more than his nose into their fight by introducing Emmylou to the battle. And even after being beat down and outnumbered, Guile is in it to win it as he takes out Emmylou and is able to muster up enough strength in his arm and nails Zartan with a sonic boom, getting the win. Now after that match, the Baroness is furious with Destro as it appears their master plan might be crumbling right before their very eyes. But Destro is cool and calm and tells her not to fret, he always has a backup plan. As the next match is set to begin, Bison gives Storm Shadow one last opportunity to switch sides once again, but Storm Shadow refuses and tells Bison that he's not on anyone's side. Storm Shadow will go on the attack, but whatever he dishes out only increases the strength of Bison's Psycho Drive, making him more deadly. Bison will repeatedly give Storm Shadow opportunities to join him as he plans to conquer every major city around the globe. As Bison repeatedly pummels Storm Shadow, he sees no way of defeating Bison and decides to forfeit their match and acknowledges Bison as his new master. Now Bison, how can you be so foolish as to just turn your back on someone such as Storm Shadow? As Bison will quickly find out after a couple of flying discs that Storm Shadow's master plan was set on damaging the Psycho Drive. The Baroness is outraged by Storm Shadow's actions as she tells Destro he's ruined everything, he's compromised our prototype. And it looks like it's not just Storm Shadow that Bison can't trust, as he better start keeping a closer look at Destro as he tells the Baroness, "My dear, what do you take me for? You always know I have redundancies in place." Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up part 1 of the Street Fighter Cross G.I. Joe comic book crossover covering issues number 1 through 3. Now in part 2, I am going to be covering issues 4 through 6 and giving my final review for this series. So if you haven't already, click that subscribe button below. Plus if you're a Street Fighter and or G.I. Joe fan, I'm going to be covering the animated movies here in the next 2 days, and you're not going to want to miss out on those reviews. Alright guys, if you like comic book reviews like this, make sure you subscribe here to Toned In Entertainment for all things pop culture.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.